10 years ago, Gotham City witnessed the emergence of the mysterious vigilante known as the Batman. Fast forward 10 years later, he's gone and nowhere to be found. However, he left a powerful impact, having significantly reduced crime all across the city, and battled some of the most bizarre yet truly evil individuals out there. But yet, there remains an ambiguous and more mysterious side to the vigilante. Welcome to Gotham Sightings. I'm your host, Jack Ryder, and in this YouTube series, I will be sharing with you the many unique and shocking stories sent in by Gothamites of all backgrounds of the caped crime fighter and his exploits in the city. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. My name is Henry, and I used to work security for a private firm back in '98, and one of our clients was the Ace chemical processing plant, which wasn't a big feat for us as most of our clients were factory owners. Ace was actually next door to another client of ours, the Monarch playing card company, so we would often have 2 guards at each site. You might think 2 wasn't enough, but nothing ever really happened at these sites. But one night, that completely changed. It was about 11 p.m., and it started to rain quite heavily outside. Typical Gotham. I was on duty at Ace with my partner Lyle. He was a bit of a drill sergeant, uptight about doing the job right and taking it seriously. He's currently a warder at Blackgate Prison, and honestly, it's not surprising. I did take my job seriously, but I took care not to give myself an aneurysm over it. Anyway, we were sitting in the security office, and I was sipping my coffee, reading over a magazine, while Lyle was monitoring the CCTV feed. I was reading an article about Bruce Wayne returning to Gotham after 8 years or something, but before I could finish it, I heard, "Henry, look!" Lyle directed my attention to the CCTV feed, which had been lost. I said to give it a second because maybe it was due to the weather and would come back on, but it didn't. I radioed the 2 other guards next door in the Monarch playing card company, asking if their CCTV went out, and they said it didn't, so I told them to keep an eye out and to be ready, in case we needed them. I went to check the power, and Lyle stayed to keep an eye on the CCTV, and to obviously be close to the money safe. I left the security room and walked down a small corridor and went through some double doors. Which led onto a catwalk that went all over the main room, where the chemical vats were. I walked to one end of the catwalk, and it hadn't even been a full minute yet, and already Lyle was radioing me, asking what the problem was, which I told him I hadn't even gotten down from the catwalk yet. I bet that Lyle sleeps on a prison bed and has bars for a door. He is such a hard ass. So I make my way down the stairs, and as I turn a corner, I'm confronted by 3 men. 2 were dressed in gray suits and wore masks. The third wore this large red mask with a cape, and he was in a black suit with white gloves. All had guns, double-action revolvers if I remember correctly. The men, despite the masks, were shocked to see me. You could see it in their eyes. I don't think they planned on running into anyone. I went to go back around the corner, but the one in the red mask shouted, "Don't! Stay right there, Red-a-Cop." He motioned with his gun for me to turn around. I had no choice but to listen to him. The fucking asshole. The man in the red mask demanded I take him to the safe, and so I began walking up the stairs back to the catwalk. Behind me, I could hear them talking about how pissed off they were, because to them, there shouldn't have been anyone at the plant. It was quite funny actually, but of course I didn't start laughing like an idiot. As we were walking down a stretch of catwalk to get to the double doors that led to the corridor where the security room was, I saw Lyle peeking his eyes through the glass, and I'd seen that look before. he was going to do something. So instinctively, I darted down another catwalk and jumped behind a large pipe for cover, and in that time, Lyle burst out of the doors and started shooting. The men were completely caught off guard and began firing back. Lyle managed to hit one of the gray suit guys. He went down like a fish out of water. Some shots managed to hit a pipe and then burst into a cloud of steam. The criminals couldn't see a thing. I started firing, but before I did, I had managed to radio to the other guys next door to call the cops and help us. The men started to make a run for it, carrying their one wounded. But then suddenly, crash! The window from above smashed open and this huge winged man-bat thing dropped down. It was the Batman that I'd been hearing about. But I was in shock at the fact that he was actually real and not just some crazy myth some homeless guy came up with. He stood there for a moment, imposing and menacing, as the rain poured down on him. He then took out the guy carrying his wounded partner with ease, both of them being tossed down the stairs. The man in red shot at the Batman, but this seemed to just pass through him, and then Batman smacked the gun right out of his hand. I heard Batman shout, "Red Hood," which must have been the name of the man in red, and Batman must have made enemies with him at one point. Red Hood bolted down a catwalk, the one closest to the chemical vats. "Not you again, you damn freak," Red Hood shouted. Batman pursued, moving quickly and with ease, like a dark shadow. Lyle called out to me to check if I was okay, and I went over to him and told him that I was fine. I remember looking in the direction of where Red Hood ran, and being just in awe of what I was seeing. So was Lyle. I saw Red Hood pick up a wrench that must have been left by the factory workers that day. He swung at Batman, but he dodged and went in for a strike. Red Hood blocked it and then whacked Batman across the face with the wrench. Red Hood swung with the wrench at Batman a second time, but Batman caught it with his hand, yanked it out of Red Hood's hand, and as he did that, he landed an uppercut to him. Red Hood was knocked off balance and fell towards the catwalk railing, but he tripped on his cape and fell over the railing and straight into a chemical vat below. Batman did try to grab his hand before he fell, but he was too late. Batman turned to us. Out of nowhere, Lyle fired a few shots towards Batman. But the vigilante evaded getting hit and threw down some kind of explosive that burst into thick smoke. By the time it cleared, Batman was gone. Lyle said that he fired because he thought that we would be next, but I doubted that. As for Red Hood, there was nothing we could do, both in terms of policy and the fact that we had no idea how to deal with that kind of accident. Later, when the police and EMS arrived, there was a search party for Red Hood because the chemical vat had flushed him out, they said. So he would have been spat out somewhere outside the plant. He was never found, but his goons were locked up. The guys at Monarch Playing Card Company arrived at the last second, just missing the whole fiasco between Batman and Red Hood. I am grateful to Lyle for helping me, so I guess his hard-ass attitude paid off. I was a little confused about the whole thing, like how Batman just showed up out of nowhere and dealt with Red Hood and his men. But after some reading the next day, it turned out that the GCPD were pursuing Red Hood's gang after a string of robberies were committed in the last month by them. Batman had been sighted the time before the attempted robbery at Ace, so he too was on Red Hood's tail, as well as the cops. I'd never forgotten that night, as in all honesty, it was just an awesome story. I always tell my kids about it, and they just love hearing it. I guess we're all Batman fans because of it. Well, there you have it. Just when you think you'll be on for an easy shift, you get held hostage by a masked man and thrown into a firefight, in which the costumed crime fighter himself intervenes. There are rumors that the notorious criminal Joker was actually the Red Hood, and that because he fell into the chemical vat, it bleached his skin and sent him crazy. Not to mention the body was never found, but bodies end up all over Gotham, so there's nothing concrete to say what's true or not. So it's just a pure rumor. This has been Gotham Sightings with your host, Jack Ryder. Thank you for watching, and stay safe out there.